I've seen all kinds of amazing things healed with EFT. Very early in my practice, when I was just experimenting with friends, I'd had a friend who had a bladder infection for 5 years. Every single day she was in pain. Every step she took, her bladder ached. She had been to doctors, she'd done antibiotics. There was nothing anyone could do for her. And if you can imagine being in that kind of pain every single day, every time you use the bathroom, it was excruciating for her. And she asked if it could help, and I said, I don't know, but let's try it. We cured it in 2 sessions. And that was before I even knew what I was doing. We did one session on her anger and resentment about her father, and one session on her anger and pain and resentment about her mother. She'd been adopted and severely abused by both adopted parents, and her bladder infection went away. So that was a miracle for me, and that gave me more faith about trying it for physical things. I had a pediatric surgeon come in the other day, and she sat down like this, and I was like, wow, what's going on with your neck? Well, you're moving kind of in one piece. And she said, oh, well, it's repetitive motion injury, and I've also been in an accident years and years ago, and all these years of like leaning like this for hours and hours working on babies. By the end of the session, she had full flexibility in her neck, and she was so amazed and delighted because she's a birder. She likes to watch birds, and it's really hard to watch birds like this. So I saw her again a few weeks later, and she still had the flexibility, and she was so grateful. I've seen things that you wouldn't think to use EFT for, like your trauma around IRS. Having someone come in and say, the IRS just called me and I'm freaked out and they think I owe them $8,000. My accountant made a mistake, I guess, and a few years ago, and it caught up with me, and let's tap on it, mostly to alleviate their stress. But we also created the possibility that somehow maybe she wouldn't have to come up with that $8,000, that there would be some way that this worked out in a more favorable way. And she called me about 3 weeks later and said, you won't believe this, but I called the IRS to finally deal with this, and they dropped the debt. And she said it freaked her out so much that she called them back and said, can I talk to someone else? And they said, no, we've really dropped the debt. And so she came over and wrote me a little thank you check for not having to pay so much money to the IRS. One of my favorite cases was a woman who came to me for PTSD due to an in-home invasion where she was held at gunpoint and almost raped, and she escaped, was drugged around by the hair, and then eventually she escaped, but she was shot while she was leaving and had to have reconstructive surgery. And she came to me a year later after having been on psychiatric medication and various pain pills and Valium and some combination of those things, and then driving her car and getting in a fight over the phone, and then flipping her car on the highway over and over and severely injuring herself. And she was a mess. And she came to me. She was able to get off all the pain medication and heal all the PTSD. And now she works as a EFT practitioner for free for the Austin Police Department with their victims of violent crime support system. So she was one of the first people I trained after we cleared that in 5 sessions. So that felt really, really good. And she no longer had fears and phobias associated with that. That was including like insomnia and fear of people who looked like her attacker and all kinds of things like that. It disappeared. So
So it works.
it works, yeah.